Express.js and MongoDB tutorial. And so in this tutorial we're going to continue. If you're new, I would recommend you check out the first part of this tutorial. It is very helpful. And so a quick recap of what we did in the last tutorial. We simply set up an Express application with a post route, and we set up an Express application with a get route, and on that get route we had a form where we intended to post into the database. And so this is what we set up. We set up a simple kind of web page, and so we have a post button where when clicked on the post button you can see a form, and on this form we're going to actually input some data and save in our database. In this tutorial we are going to see how we can add a favicon, and then see how we can create a post route to make posting in our database successful. And so let's get started. This is the code from our last tutorial, and now we're going to add a favicon. Now the module responsible for adding a favicon is actually called serve favicon, and I don't actually know if you've ever heard about this module, or if you know the meaning of favicon. But I guess if it's your first time, I think let me just show you up. And before that, I would want to say, if you're looking for a written content of this tutorial or for more Node.js tutorial, you can always check out our website. We have more interesting content in coding and other programming concepts or issues. Now coming back to adding a favicon on our Express application, you can see we have this logo beside the title of our website. This logo is what is actually referred to as the favicon. Some call it favicon, or some say favicon. It all depends on you. Now to actually add this module in our project directory, it's quite simple. You simply need to navigate to your project directory and open in a command line in a CMD, and then you type the command npm install serve favicon and hit enter. Then it would be installed in your local machine, but make sure you actually have a working internet connection for this to actually be successful. But for my case, I already have the module in my local machine, so there's no longer the need installing that. Now to actually make this successful, to actually add this logo beside the title found on the tab of our website, we actually start by telling our Express app that we are going to use this module, and so this can simply be achieved by var favicon require and we input the name of our module. Serve favicon, and then doing this actually requires the path module, so make sure you equally require the path module by doing var path is equal to require path, because this will actually lead us to actually get our icon which we want to set. Next, we actually need to inform the Express application that we are actually using this, that we actually want to use this, and so we can achieve that by simply setting an app.use app.use, and then favicon, and we add the path to our icon. Now this takes the folder where the icon is found, and then the name of the icon. So quickly, as you can see in my project folder, there's a folder known as public, and in the public folder I have some few images, and there you can find an image with the .ico extension. Actually, it is advisable to use a logo with the .ico extension, which is actually very helpful. And then I think that is all. So take note of this: app.use, favicon, and we add the path to our icon, the folder where it is actually located, and the name of our icon. Now let's check that out to see if it actually worked successfully. Let's check out our server. We are running on port 3000. Then let's refresh. Now for now you could refresh and then you see nothing, probably because the Express file or the Express page or the app has been cached. So actually you need to hit Ctrl F5 to actually refresh from scratch, and then there you can see there is an icon beside our title Express. So that is the first part, guys. Now let us actually see how we could make this form useful in such a way if a user fills in the form, he's actually going to get his information saved in a database. And so to actually achieve this, let's get back to our form. I think the form was saved in the views folder and a file known as post.ejs. Post.ejs. Okay. So in the post.ejs folder file, EJS template, we're going to check out some few things. For example, let's check if our form action has been set. Ensure you set your form action to method post, and the route is actually the send route. We are going to set up a send route in our server.js. I think that has been set already. Then I think that's all to check out the form. Next, we actually need to connect to our database. We need to connect to our database because we are actually trying to save in data in our database. That cannot be effective or possible if you don't actually connect your Express application to a database. and in this case we are going to use the Mongo DB or the Mongo database, which is a NoSQL database, and we are going to use along with Mongoose, which is an ODM, which easily helps us manipulate databases, the MongoDB database. And so we must begin by installing Mongoose. So if you don't have Mongoose installed in your local machine, I would recommend you write on to your CMD in your project directory and install Mongoose. And hit enter. And then after that, we need to add Mongoose in our server. So var Mongoose is equal to require Mongoose, and then we are equally going to add body parser. So actually any module you can't find in your, or any module that requires to be installed, you can check that up on npm and get the module installed. var body parser, which is a very important module that actually enables us to get data from our form. Now let's connect to our MongoDB database, and this can be achieved by simply using mongoose.connect since we are using a database in our local machine. So we are going to use this local host, and you're going to input the collection of your database in your database. And so let me check that out. Connect. And so here we are putting in the database name, sorry, not the collection. Here we are putting in the database name, and then we actually set new URL parser to true. Then use by topology, I think we equally set that to true. And then we set the kind of we check out if connection was successful by setting a kind of callback. And we say if there's no error, and then we should get a console.log connection to database successful. Or let's just say connection to database done. Else we log the error. And then after that we need to set up the schema, but before that I think let's test out if the connection to our database is actually successful. I think there's an error. I think we spelled out console wrongly. Let me check that out. Save. Okay guys, everything is successful. Connection to database done. Next we set up our schema. The schema is a kind of a model to the data you want to save into your database, and so the structure of the schema must be similar to the structure of the information you'll be getting from the user or you'll be getting from the form. And so what happens is Mongoose will actually match this. Mongoose actually creates a model of how it is saved in the database. And so to create a schema, quickly let us set up a schema for our users. In our case, let's assume we are simply creating a kind of database that will simply store user information. We have first name, we have last name, with country, with subject. So now let's say we're setting up var m4 schema. So with that new Mongoose schema dot schema, there we set up our information, and so it must actually be a structure of what we're actually hoping to receive. So first, what do we have here? We have first name, last name, country, and subject. And so first name will simply be something kind of F name, which is a string. Get to the next. URL name, type, which is equally a string, get to the next, country, the type, which is equally a string, and lastly the subject. Subject, which is equally a string, I think that's done for our schema. But a tip I'm equally going to tell you is it's quite advisable or good when the structure of your schema kind of matches up with your form information. For example, let's save this up. Let's check out. Okay, there's no problem. For example, check out the name of your form fields. Check them out and make sure you edit them. So we have the name of the first name field as first name, last name. So we're actually going to use this when getting data from the form. So next, we need to create a model from the schema we just created. And so creating a model, let's just use a constant M for model, which is Mongoose model. And this model takes in the collection name. Let's check out if there's a collection in our database. Posts. Let's check this out. Okay, I think we could use out the collection forms. So we're going to check out form with S, and then the name of our schema. So info schema. Now I want to make a kind of emphasis in this by saying, if you have no collection in your database yet, you simply need to type in the name you would want to see as collection. Therefore, take note of the fact that Mongoose will actually create a plural of anything you put here. And so in my case, it's form, not with S anymore, because Mongoose has already created these as forms with an S. So I guess you have no collection in your database yet, and so I would say you input the name you would want to see here as collection, and then it's going to be set up in your database in a plural form. So our model has been set up. Next, we need to save whatever we have gotten, whatever we wish to, in our database. We need to save that in our database. And so this is a call for us to create a post route. And remember, in our form we actually set that route to send, and the method is post. So app.get app.post rather on the send route. Now this is what happens whenever we are to send or to post an information in our database. First, we must create an instance of the model we created above, and then after that we get data or information from our form, and then we easily use Mongoose to actually save that in our database. So let us look at how that works. So we're going to create an instance of the model created above, M4 model. Nope, we can set that on, let's say, info. New M4 model. Then we need to get data from our form, and so this can easily be achieved. And remember that when you create an instance of the model you declared above, you must actually fit in data that matches the schema which you set above. So that is why we are going to have info.lname, which is going to be the first name from our form, the first name field in our form. So that can be gotten through request.body.firstname. I think you can check that out. First name, next info.lname, rather this should be fname. Lname should be request.body.lastname. Next, info.country, request.body country. Next, subject. Let's check it out. We have last name, we have country, and we have subject. That subject is equal to request.body with subject. Okay, so now that has been set, saving in a, since we've already gotten the data from our form, we just need to save, and this can easily be achieved by using the Mongoose method which is simply info.save, and then as parameter we check for errors, and then document. And so in this callback function, we actually check if there's an error. If there's no error, rather, console.log save. Else console.log we log out the error. So I think we could check that out if that works successfully. Connection to database, then let's quickly refresh our application. Let's get back to the home post. So let's check out John, Mary, the country USA, hello world. I think there's something we need to set up, which is very important. Now let's try that out. Let's click on submit. Cannot read property first name. We got an error. Let's check out what it stands for. Cannot read property F name. So let's check that out. Request.body.fname first name. So we got to figure out the error. And so possibly it could be because our application cannot actually get the data from the form. So we equally need to check that out. And remember, at the beginning I made mention of a module known as body person. So I think let's set that on use by simply hitting app.use body person. Body person .url encoded, and I think let's set that to true. Then let's try that out again. Country USA. Okay guys, I think this is successful because we actually set our post route so that if everything is successful, we get a redirection to the home route. And then let's check out our console. We have saved. So let's check our database. Let's refresh. And so we have John Doe, USA, and then Hello World. This is very wonderful. So now you can actually set up a form, set up a server, and save data into your database. Let's write on and save another record. Let's say tricorder.com, then Canada. Let's say welcome. And let's hit submit. Let's refresh our database, and finally we have that in our database. This is awesome, guys. So the next thing we would actually do is to actually retrieve the information we've saved in our database and present that information to the user. We could actually get the information and present it on a web page. And so this is very possible. We just need to set up another route to actually get data from the database, and then we render it in a view, in an EJS view. And so let's quickly check out how it can be done. So let's add another route here. Let's call it the users route, and it's a get request users. Then we actually need to find, or we need to search the records or get the records from our database. And so to actually accomplish this, we need to use a find method bound to our model. So remember the model we created here, we have the info model. So we're actually going to say info model dot find then since we are getting all the records in our database, then there is no specific query criteria, and so we simply hit .10 function document, and so we're going to get a document, and then we render the document, which is simply the record response.render in an EJS file. And so in this case we are going to use user.EJS. Then we need to actually assign the document we are extracting from the database. We need to assign that to a variable which we are actually going to use it, and which we are actually going to render in our template engine. And so let's say we can just call that item. Now I think we should set up the users.EJS file, but before that I would want that we move to the home and we set up another button here where we're going to which will take us to the list of users. And so take note, we're actually doing this. We're actually going to be presenting the list of users on a route called the users route. And so here, simply need to hit users, and then so in users.EJS we are going to present the records we get from our database in a table. We're actually going to present that in a table. We're going to simply use the normal HTML table, and then render the information in the table. And so let us quickly set up an HTML template. The title, we just put users. And then I would want everything to be at the center. And then let's set up a heading h1, and just let's add that at the center. Then let's set up our table. One. Then let's set up a row. And on that row we're going to have our table headers. And on the table headers we're going to have last name, first name, then we're going to have country, and subject. Then on our second row we're actually going to display each record, and so this can be achieved in EJS using a for each loop. And so we are going to loop over the records we get from our database, which has been stored in the item variable, and then we get each and display that in our list of users. And so this can be achieved by that's before the row. Let's be careful here. Oh, I think let me set up the for each before setting up the row. Using the EJS syntax, item.forEach. Function item and now we have actually set that up. Now at every record a row will be created to actually display the details of that record. So let's set up a row. And so as TD, as data, we're going to have the first item is going to be item.fname, exactly the way it has been saved in our database. Oops, do not forget an equal to sign here, and so we're just going to copy that out. So we have L name, subject, country, have country before subject. Let's just this country, then subject. Guys, let's check out if this works. Connection to database. Let's refresh. We have our users button, and let's check out users. And that is it, guys. Under users, we have, as you can see, the 2 records we have in our database. So let's try adding some more info in our database and check out how this will be added in our form. So let's say Mary from Australia, and then hi. Let's check our database. Successful. Let's check our users, and it has been added. This is a very wonderful step. So guys, you now know how to save data in your database and then retrieve this later on and render that to the user. Now I would want us to actually set up another column on the table where we can actually delete any record we want to from our front end, where we can easily delete a record by simply pressing a link on our front end at the level of the table specifically. And so this can easily be achieved by setting up another row. Let's say and call this delete. And then adding that up here. And so this will actually have its own route, which is a route that will actually enable us to delete from our database. So this can be achieved through the delete route. Delete, and then item .id. So we're going to be deleting that particular record through its ID in the database. And then on click return, we're going to return a notification. When clicked, notification asking us to confirm if we, an alert kind of asking confirmation if we are sure. Column comes here before this. Then we close this up and then add delete. And that is it. And then moving back on our server code, in our server.js, we actually need to set up a route that will actually delete a record from our database. And so let's quickly set up a get route. Delete and the ID. Request response. Then we get back to the model, info model dot find by ID. No, find and remove. Mongoose actually makes it easily using the find and remove method, which takes in where we're going to set it request.params.id. Then we set up if there's no error, then response.redirect, everything should remain, it should just be refreshed. Users, else we log the error. Console.log fail to delete. Let's check out our console. So let's try it out. Users. And so we have delete. Are you sure? Okay guys, it is successful. So let's delete all our records. And let's check out in the database if any records are found. Let's refresh, and as you can see, no records found. So let's try adding up another record. Hello. Save. Check. And there you go guys, we've come to the end of this second part of Express and MongoDB tutorial. So I hope you have learned a lot, and you can always remember, you can always comment or drop any worries you have at the comment section. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel. And if you're totally new, I would recommend you check out other videos on our channel and check out the written content of our tutorials on our website trycoder.com. We do not only have content on Node, but we equally have content on other programming aspects and languages or frameworks. Thank you for watching. See you in the next tutorial.